There's a video that went viral a few years back of a crow in Japan. The crow would pick up a walnut, fly over to a pedestrian crossing, and drop it in front of the waiting cars. Then it would hop back onto the traffic light pole and wait. When the light turned red and people started walking, the crow would glide down, pick up the cracked walnut, and eat it. It wasn't doing this by accident. It had figured out that cars crack shells, that red lights stop cars, and that green lights mean it's safe to walk. It had learned traffic signals, without a single day of school. We've spent thousands of years assuming we're the only ones up here, the only ones thinking, planning, feeling, solving. But the more we actually study animals, the more that assumption starts to fall apart. And the findings are not small. They're not cute little party tricks. Some of them are genuinely hard to explain. So let's ask the question properly. How smart are animals, really? Let's start with memory, because this is where most people's assumptions collapse first. You've probably heard that goldfish have a 3-second memory. It's one of those facts everyone repeats. It's also completely wrong. Researchers have trained goldfish to press levers for food, come back months later, and the fish still remembers. 3-second memory is a myth that just refused to die. But goldfish are nothing compared to Clark's nutcracker. This is a small bird that lives in the mountains of North America. Every autumn, it buries up to 100,000 individual seeds across hundreds of different locations spread over miles of terrain. Then, in winter, when everything is buried under snow, it goes and finds them. Not most of them. Not roughly where it left them. Up to 90% of every single cache it buried. Months later. Under snow. For context, most humans struggle to remember where they parked their car. Then there's problem solving. And this is where it gets uncomfortable for us. Chimpanzees have been tested on short-term memory tasks against human adults, and they win. Not by a little. In one study, numbers flash on a screen for less than a second, then disappear. The chimp has to tap where each number appeared in order. The chimps consistently outperform humans. A young chimp named Ayumu became famous for it. People flew in from around the world to compete against him. He beat every single one of them. Octopuses can unscrew jars from the inside. They've been documented escaping from tanks at night, sliding across the floor of the research facility, eating fish from a separate tank, and getting back before morning. One aquarium in New Zealand had to put a lid with a child-proof lock on an octopus tank because he kept getting out and unplugging the filtration system. Apparently he didn't like the noise. An octopus has no bones, 3 hearts, blue blood, and a brain that is partially located in its arms. Each arm can make decisions independently of the central brain. It is so fundamentally different from us that scientists sometimes use it as a model for what alien intelligence might look like. And it's been sitting in Earth's oceans for 300 million years. But intelligence isn't just about memory and problem solving. It's about understanding the world around you. And this is where things get really interesting. Elephants pass the mirror test. This is a standard measure of self-awareness. You put a mark on an animal's body while it's asleep, somewhere it can only see in a mirror. Then you show it a mirror. Most animals either ignore the reflection or react to it like it's another animal. Elephants reach up and touch the mark on their own body. They understand they're looking at themselves. So do dolphins. So do great apes. So do magpies. A magpie is a bird with a brain the size of a walnut, and it recognizes itself in a mirror, which means it has some concept of self, some awareness that there is a me, separate from the rest of the world. We used to think that was uniquely human. Elephants also grieve. When a herd member dies, they return to the body. They touch it with their trunks. They stand near it in silence. Families have been observed returning to the bones of a dead relative years later, handling the skull, the tusks. Researchers who have watched this describe it as being almost unbearable to observe. They also warn each other about specific humans. If a poacher harms a member of the herd, elephants will pass that information along. Other herds miles away will avoid that specific human. Not humans in general. That specific one, they are keeping and sharing a record. Then there's language, and this one tends to stop people cold. Prairie dogs don't just make alarm calls. Researchers spent years decoding their communication and found that their calls contain specific information about a predator. Not just danger, but size, shape, color, and speed of movement. A prairie dog can communicate "large dog, brown, moving fast from the north" to other prairie dogs who weren't even looking. Bees do something similar but with movement. The waggle dance. A bee returns to the hive and performs a specific figure-8 movement that tells the other bees exactly where a food source is, how far away, what direction relative to the sun, and how good it is. It's a language built entirely out of dance, and every bee in the hive can read it. Whales sing. but we've known that for decades. What we didn't know until recently is that humpback whale songs spread. A whale in one part of the ocean develops a new song. Within a few years, whales thousands of miles away are singing it. It moves across ocean basins like a cultural trend, like a song going viral. They're not just communicating, they're sharing culture. Now here's the part that tends to make people a little uncomfortable. We've spent a long time deciding how smart animals are based on how similar they are to us. Do they use tools? Do they solve problems the way we solve problems? Do they communicate the way we communicate? And the ones who score highest on those tests, the chimps, the dolphins, the elephants, we call them intelligent. The ones who don't, we assume aren't. But that might be the wrong way to measure it entirely. A dog can identify its owner's smell from a sample taken 2 weeks earlier, from a single item of clothing, in a room full of competing smells, and track that person through a city. No technology we have built comes close to that. Bats navigate in complete darkness, using sound so precise they can detect an object the width of a human hair while flying at full speed. Migratory birds can feel the Earth's magnetic field and use it as a compass. Salmon return to the exact river, the exact tributary, the exact pool they were born in after years at sea, using senses we don't have and still don't fully understand. We don't call these things intelligence because we can't do them. But if an alien species landed on Earth and could navigate by magnetic fields and track individuals by smell across cities and map the world through sound, and we couldn't, we would absolutely call them smarter than us. So what is the honest answer to the question? The honest answer is that we built the test, and then we were surprised when we scored highest. Animals are not less intelligent than us. They are differently intelligent, shaped by millions of years of solving completely different problems in completely different environments. A crow doesn't need calculus. It needs to crack walnuts and survive winter. And it has developed exactly the kind of intelligence required to do that, at a level that genuinely impresses the researchers studying it. What the last few decades of animal research has actually shown us is that almost every trait we use to consider uniquely human, self-awareness, grief, language, culture, problem-solving, planning for the future, has now been found in at least one other species. Sometimes many. The list of things only we can do keeps getting shorter. And maybe that's not a threat to what makes us special. Maybe it's actually the more interesting finding. That intelligence isn't a single thing that one species has and everyone else is missing. It's something that emerged over and over again, in wildly different forms, all across the tree of life. The crow on the traffic light wasn't trained. Nobody taught it the rules of the road. It just watched and figured it out and used what it learned to eat. If you saw a human do that in an unfamiliar country, you'd call them resourceful. You'd call them sharp. The only reason we don't call it that when a crow does it is because we've already decided the crow isn't smart enough to surprise us. I think it's time we update that.